بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship but Allah, the God of Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the last of his messengers. Dear honored guests, community leaders, imams, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May God's peace and blessings shower us all tonight and always. Welcome to the 2014 LARIBA Awards for RF Banking and Finance Excellence. It is our 13th awards presentation, a tradition that began in 1993. Some of you were part of that. We're honored. As many of you know, LARIBA and Bank of Whittier are the first ever riba-free banking and finance providers in the U.S. that are owned by the American community and provide a full range of banking and financing services to individuals and businesses in all 50 states. We're working on a movement to popularize and spread the principles of what we call an RF lifestyle. Tonight, we will learn more about what is an RF lifestyle. We're delighted that you can join us here tonight. We have a wonderful program for you as we recognize two distinguished individuals, very worthy, who have contributed much to the field of RF banking and finance. We will learn more about these individuals as the program progresses. With that, I would like to direct your attention to the program of tonight's event. On the back of it, you'll see how the program will progress, inshallah. And I would like to call Brother Hafiz Sajjad for their citation of the Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam.
Inshallah, I will recite tonight from different chapters in the Quran. Chapter 16, Surah An-Nahl. Surah An-Nahl, yes. Chapter 28, Surah Al-Qasas. And chapter 2 from Surah Al-Baqarah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذي أنزل من السماء ماء لكم منه شراب ومنه شجر فيه تسيمون ينبت لكم به الزرع والزيتون والنخيل والأعناب ومن كل الثمرات إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يتفكرون وسخر لكم الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون وما ذرأ لكم في الأرض مختلفا ألوانه إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يذكرون وهو الذي سخر البحر لتأكلوا منه لحما طريا وتستخرجوا منه حلية تلبسونها وترى الفلك مواخر فيه ولتبتغوا من فضله ولعلكم تشكرون
وقال الله في مقام آخر إن قارون كان من قوم موسى فبغى عليهم وآتيناه من الكنوز ما إن مفاتحه لتنوء بالعصبة أولي القوة إذ قال له قومه لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين وابتغ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك ولا تبغ الفساد في الأرض إن الله لا يحب المفسدين قال إنما أوتيته على علم عندي أولم يعلم أن الله قد أهلك من قبله من القرون من هو أشد منه قوة أولم يعلم أن الله قد أهلك من قبله من القرون من هو أشد منه قوة وأكثر جمعا ولا يسأل عن ذنوبهم المجرمون فخرج على قومه في زينته قال الذين يريدون الحياة الدنيا يا ليت لنا مثل ما أوتي قارون إنه لذو حظ عظيم وقال الذين أوتوا العلم ويلكم ثواب الله خير لمن آمن وعمل صالحا ولا يلقاها إلا الصابرون فخسفنا به وبداره الأرض فما كان له من فئة ينصرونه من دون الله وما كان من المنتصرين وأصبح الذين تمنوا مكانه بالأمس يقولون ويك أن الله يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء من عباده ويقدر لولا أمن الله علينا لخسف بنا ويكأنه لا يفلح الكافرون تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين من جاء بالحسنة فله خير منها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى الذين عملوا السيئات إلا ما كانوا يعملون وقال الله في مقام آخر الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا فمن جاءه موعظة من ربه فانتهى فله ما سلف وأمره إلى الله ومن عاد فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون يمحق الله الربا ويربي الصدقات والله لا يحب كل كفار أثيم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا إن كنتم مؤمنين فإن لم تفعلوا فأذنوا بحرب من الله ورسوله وإن تبتم فلكم رؤوس أموالكم لا تظلمون ولا تظلمون وإن كان ذو عسرة فنظرة إلى ميسرة وأن تصدقوا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون واتقوا يوما ترجعون فيه إلى الله ثم توفى كل نفس ما كسبت وهم لا يظلمون سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.
Ahsan, sadaqallah al-azim. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce one of the talented young ladies of the community to lead us through the national anthem, Ms. Sahana Islam.
If everybody could please rise for the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Jazakallah khair. What a wonderful, wonderful voice. We are honored tonight by a number of dignitaries and community servants, the first of which is the Honorable U.S. Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. She needs little introduction. She's a 16th term U.S. Senator and one of the most helpful and best friends of our community. Would like to honor her to join us, please.
Good evening. I did get a promotion in that introduction. I just won my 12th term in the U.S. House of Representatives. Let me say that I didn't realize I was on the program when I came because I wasn't sure I could come. But I'm delighted that you gave me the opportunity to say hello to a group that I have great admiration for. And to say that I listened to that message as I read very carefully. And I really agreed with every word and realized when the national anthem was sang that this really is a great country. It is not perfect. It is not perfect because it's made up of people, and we are not perfect. But it is what we make it. And you are a part of making it what we want it to be, and that's important. And I'm proud to share this occasion with you and to meet some of you that I've not met before and greet those that I have. So thank you very much for being a very important part of making this a better nation. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson was kind enough to give certificates to our awardees. At this time, I'd like to call both our awardees, Dr. Professor Rodney Wilson and Mr. Dawood Vikri Abdullah. Please join us.
This is a certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Professor Rodney Wilson, the Islamic RF Banking of UK, in recognition of outstanding and invaluable services to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. David Bakari Abdullah, the Chief Executive Officer and President of InSelf. Let me congratulate you as well, and the certificate reads the same. Thank you. There's another one presented to the American Finance House. We sent these ahead because it was not sure that I could be here, but I'm delighted to be here to present it. Thank you very much.
We'll now have a video presentation about RF finance.
I always want to have, when I go to bed, to lie comfortable, realizing that my money is doing good and not collecting anything haram.
I never took any loan from anybody else. I never never applied any loan from anybody else. If the LARIBA was not there, probably I would not have taken any loans.
Now that we've been married for 2.5 years and we're getting our first house together, inshallah, the next step will be for us to start a family. The most important thing for us was to get our home mortgage loan riba free. And the fact that Bank of Whittier is now opened up in Richardson, Texas as well, allowed us to have that option available to us.
I believe it was a good deal. We kind of compared going the other route versus riba free, and it seemed just to make sense Islamically and economically, and it just seemed like it was the right thing to do, and it worked out for us.
So the idea was to have an institution, a financial institution, that is run by qualified professionals who love Almighty God, who live by His disciplines revealed in the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, who also have a goal of providing an investment service for those who have the money and using it to invest it in businesses, in Islamic centers, in schools.
In the Hebrew scriptures, you find an interesting statement there, I think it's in the Leviticus, that addresses the Israelites that you should not lend to your brother with interest, with riba.
When if you're asking what is the Jewish understanding of rebate, then you really have to look at not only the biblical but the rabbinic understanding of rebate. And for the rabbis, these laws would apply in the relationship of Jews to non-Jews just as much as it applies in the relationship of Jews to Jews.
Riba, in Islam we believe, is haram and it must be avoided.
R stands for many things. R stands for ribit, which is the meaning of renting money in Judaism and Christianity. And it stands for riba, which is also means the renting of money in the Islamic faith. So to make it a real Judeo-Christian Islamic discipline, we call it the RF financing. We also use it as a wonderful description of what we do, and that is responsible financing. We are socially responsible, we are morally responsible, and we are ethically responsible before the community and before the highest of all authorities, Almighty God.
We have to make it more and more relevant to the humanity in general. We stop thinking about it as a Muslim industry. By the Muslims, for the Muslims, no. It may be by the Muslims, but it is for everyone.
We've been participating in many activities, financing Islamic schools around the country, financing churches, financing Islamic centers. We have also financed 2 waqf or endowment projects in downtown Singapore. We've been working together with the founders of Turkey Finance that was going belly up for the second time, and we prevented that from happening. We have started a bank in Kazakhstan, and we offered mortgage financing riba-free way for the first time in the history of Kazakhstan. We have 2 books published on the system.
RF banking is a unique responsible form of banking. RF stands for riba or ribit-free, and of course it is a banking that is not based on the concept of renting of money.
RF banking is faith-based, socially responsible, community banking.
It promotes deception-free transactions and gharar-free transactions.
It's not dealing with any forbidden, like alcohol or weapons or gambling.
The goal of our banking is to have an interest-free lifestyle that people from all faiths can live and adopt.
We invest into the community, we give back to the community.
We're well trained to see we are responsible for the community to grow.
We are the community. We build the community. We're members of the community, whether it's the Muslim community or just the community in general, the community at large.
Anyone who is interested in riba-free financing is, of course, welcome, and we encourage it.
Not being a member of the Muslim community, it took me a while to understand that it's a way of developing a payment that starts based on the market rent of the property.
I'm Ralph Jenny. I'm the Parish Council President here at St. Michael's Orthodox Church in Whittier, California. Approximately 8 years ago, we were given the opportunity to purchase the neighboring piece of property. It was very refreshing to talk with the Bank of Whittier because they were supportive and very interested in talking to us and arranging financing. You know, they believe that they will truly be rewarded for helping others.
We take interest in our customer, but we do not take interest.
We look at every transaction as an investment transaction.
The lender is not supposed to take advantage of the customer. The lender is supposed to enter into an arrangement with the customer that's beneficial to the customer.
There's no renting of money where we hide interest charges under the name of rent.
We have to have that type of institution to help us financially, where we can be stronger as a Muslim community.
I have been working with LARIBA for some time now. My own house is financed through LARIBA. The professionalism that has been shown by Bank of Whittier has been great.
They worked very closely, very tirelessly, and had the approvals in our hands in a matter of weeks. So there was, that was the most efficient part of how they processed all of this.
The issue with owning a home with LARIBA is you're paying part rent, and that rent is basically what is the profit generated for LARIBA. And that is not extra that you're paying back. You're paying back the principal plus rent.
We are the only finance company, we're the only bank in the whole world that goes and measures how much would this house rent for, how much would this car rent for. And based on the rent, we calculate the profitability of the prudent investment. And if it is profitable, we invest with you. If it is not profitable, we do not invest with you.
So in that respect, probably we are unique. There is probably no other lending institution who would tell the borrower that it's better for you to rent it rather than to buy it.
And that discipline we used consistently at LARIBA over the last 20 years to detect economic bubbles that actually detected for us that a number of markets in the United States suffer from overpriced homes, and we should be careful, and we have saved many members of the community from buying homes in inflated markets.
There are a lot of similarities, but the main differences are, number one, the RF banker uses the investment approach to analyzing whether the transaction makes economic sense or not, as opposed to simply renting of the money approach, which focuses on, can I get paid back? The second difference is the way the rate of return is set. An RF banker would mark it to the market, whereas a traditional banker looks at it from what is our cost of funds and what spread do we need to earn over the cost of funds. The third difference, and probably one of the most important, is the relationship between the two entities, between the bank and the customer, applies the socially responsible principles of helping the customer get out of trouble should they get into it.
We will negotiate on behalf of the customer whether or not to get an appraisal fee, title fee, or anything to try to minimize the cost for the customer.
We're looking for some type of finance, and went to big banks and asked financing for this store. Unfortunately, they cannot give us the loan.
Finally, we got Bank of Whittier. They are very good with the customer service, and they help us to get a loan and to franchise the store.
We really help people. I've had customers, doctors who are making enough money to afford good houses, but who've been renting for years because they didn't want to, get involved in interest.
What gives us pleasure is to be able to serve people like this.
LARIBA and similar institutions have come in, and they have provided this facility for us to make things easy for us and facilitate easy home ownership.
We treat our customer as a part of our family. We have somebody to serve them 24/7 if they have question.
It's nice that you don't call an 800 number and you can't talk to the same person twice.
This is like another school for me.
I've never been really a more social person, and I always had this mumbling problem. But since I started working at the bank, my social skills have really gotten better.
So I come here because I know that I'm making a good difference in people's lives. Like, I feel good about the work that I do here.
I bring sometimes my daughters, they are working for volunteer work or they are helping here in the summertime. They love my work very much. They said this is very good community.
Well, we started this thing like 3 years ago, and it's very successful. I'm opening the third store in the next 2 months. My background is a Muslim, and then we try not to pay interest. My bank experience is this compared to the other bank is they are easygoing. Every time I have any question, any related to anything like a loan or anything, they're always very helpful.
Once you enter in the LARIBA RF financing, means you are entering into the family.
The atmosphere is definitely different from from other banks?
As we look around the bank, we don't have standing tellers, we have sit-down tellers. It is very important, the ethic as we treat our customer like a part of our business.
I jumped at the opportunity to transfer my banking from my previous city to the Bank of Whittier. One of the things I like best about the Bank of Whittier is actually their ATM machine is very modern, and it's very convenient for me.
Well, actually, we were one of the very first finance companies in the United States to use the internet. And we had a website called LARIBA.com. And this website has actually attracted over 1 million visitors in 10 years.
The online banking platform for the bank it's very modern. We've just upgraded the bill pay side of it. It's more efficient.
I know when I will deposit my money with the Bank of Whittier, they will not invest this money into any haram, any business that is prohibited by our religion of Islam.
And immediately I supported the bank. I opened an account. Service is very excellent. Again, it was very personal. They call you, they email you, they're up to task and immediate responses, so there's no delay whatsoever.
In the final analysis, people will ask you, what is the added value? What's different about what you do? It's not a matter of names, it's not a matter of claims, it's a matter of what have you done for me lately?
We always do look to the benefit of that client, not the benefit of the companies. So we have to put ourselves in their position to understand what their problems, to listen to their issues, and to see what we can do to help them.
We want to be very specific as to the real added value of what you do, serving the community, holding the hands of the people, and most importantly, touching the hearts and the minds and the pockets of those who need to be touched.
We're humbled by your support and your trust. I'd like to call Dr. Yahya Abdul Rahman to introduce the history of the awards.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وعلى صحبه وعلى التابعين. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, and we ask in humility that God, Allah, will shower His blessings, prayers onto the souls of all of His prophets, including Prophet Abraham and his two children, Ismail wa Ishaq, Ishmael and Isaac, and all the subsequent messengers and prophets, including prophets Moses, Musa, and Jesus, Isa, and the final and the last prophet Muhammad. May God's peace and prayers be upon them all. I'd like to thank you all, our dignitaries, or our guests. We're honored to have you with us, our imams, our religious leaders, our guests of honor who traveled all the way from as far as Malaysia and North Carolina and Washington, D.C. to be with us, and all of you, because we are honored to see you join our family. We started LARIBA in 1987. It's a shareholders company, and for the first time, Muslims from the American Muslim community get together and start a shareholders company, which is American Finance House LARIBA in 1987. I went to my friends who grew up with, and I said, how about investing $10,000 or $20,000 in this venture, and if I lose it, please don't hate me for the rest of your life. So about a few believed, and alhamdulillah, we raised $200,000. And the rest is history, alhamdulillah. LARIBA has grown by leaps and bounds. We do not claim that we have the keys to paradise. This is in the hands of Almighty God. We do not claim that we are the most Puritans. All we do is we serve. We serve Allah, and the best way of serving Allah is to serve you. as the Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ أَنْفَعَهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ. The best of all people are those who are most beneficial to people. Not Muslims, not Christians, not Jews, to all people of all faith and all backgrounds. The shareholders come from America, from Pakistan, India, Myanmar. We have a large Myanmari community, Muslim community in Los Angeles, from Syria, from Egypt, from Ethiopia, and from Palestine. The award idea came in 1993. We wanted to induce our youth to look up to the achievements of those who pioneered riba-free or RF financing. And we'll go through the list, but the highest award is called the Lifetime Achievement Award, which was given to no less than His Excellency, the Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad of Malaysia. I don't know if you know this or not, in 1997, 1998, there was a huge speculation bubble on currencies of the so-called Asian tigers, and most of the tigers became very weak, except one country that refused to go and borrow from the IMF, and that country had wonderful creative ideas, which became the playbook of the United States of America after what happened in 2008, despite the fact they were criticized. So we thought that he deserved a Lifetime Achievement Award for what he has done to Malaysia and as an example for the different countries. And these are some pictures we're honored to have had, and was held in Chicago, Illinois. And then his deputy, who was also the finance minister, was given the Lifetime Achievement Award. I personally had the privilege of having first-hand information of what was done and the work that was done, the meticulous attention to details, and Noor Yaqub deserved that award. Now, the awardees in 1993, the first one we thought deserves the award was an educator. His name is Dr. Muhammad Najatullah Siddiqui. And Dr. Siddiqui comes from a very prestigious university in India called Aligarh University. And this man was the man who, for the first time in history, in the modern history, put together all the hadith and the seerah and everything you know about RF financing, Dr. Najatullah Siddiqui. The second one was Sheikh Saleh Abdullah Kamel. Sheikh Abdullah Kamel is the pioneer and the chairman of Al Baraka Banking Group. This man, out of scratch, has developed the first ever network of banks throughout the Middle East and in Europe and in Asia, and we're very, very proud. If there is a name in yellow color, a few years later, starting in 2010, the Royal Award of the King of Malaysia to the same cause was given to Sheikh Saleh Kamel, and I'm honored to be one of the judges in the handing out of this award. 1995 was Muhammad Noor Yaqub. 1997 is a very unique man from Turkey. His name is Professor Sabahattin Zaim. Professor Zaim was another pioneer from Turkey who started riba-free financing movement in Turkey and worked with the Islamic Development Bank. And then Professor Khurshid Ahmed, those of you who come from Pakistan, you know Professor Khurshid Ahmed, who lives in the United Kingdom and of course from Pakistan. Dr. Saleh Malaika from Saudi Arabia. And then Brother Iqbal Khan, the one who is responsible for what we call the sukuk. He is the first one ever to convince HSBC to start the first sukuk on a publicized and popularized way. And he was the second awardee of the Royal Award. And then Thomas Mullins, and this is the name nobody remembers. I bet you many of the people in the riba-free movement don't remember. This man is actually the man who started the Islamic Finance Research Program at Harvard University. And may God bless his soul, we honor him. This man to his right-hand side is Yahya when he was younger. Supposed to be a joke. So, all right. And then we have Professor Mahmoud Al-Gamal. And Brother Pervez Nassim, who started the movement for riba-free financing in Canada, in the Al-Manzil program. Actually, it's called, in Toronto, Canada, it's called Ansar housing program. And then the man who is responsible for the popularization of riba-free financing at Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae happens to be from Bangladesh. And his name is Sabir Salam. And he's the man who's responsible. Of course, Professor Jamal Badawi, you all know. And then Professor Rafat Abdel Karim, who is actually the pioneer of many activities in the capital markets. And 2004, Fannie Mae. 2005, Dr. Munzir Kahf, and also Dr. Nazim Ali, who is was in charge of Harvard, now he's in Qatar. And then I'm going to skip 2012, 2 years ago, it was given to Mr. Adnan Youssef. Now, we started looking into the new generation. Mr. Adnan Youssef actually is a new head of Al Baraka Banking Group, and Mr. Rushdie Siddiqui, who is working on some halal, wonderful ideas worldwide. And this year, we're honored to recognize two wonderful achievers, Professor Rodney Wilson, who taught Islamic financing for 40 years at the university called Durham University. Used to be a wonderful seminary a long time ago, and it is north of London, about 3 hours away by train. And he first went to give undergraduate degrees, master's degree, and PhD degrees in the United Kingdom in Islamic finance. And then my dear friend, Mr. Dawood Vikri Abdullah, I call him by his name. Mom and dad chose for him, David Vikri. And David is another unique person who has done a lot of work, many of which is on the central bank levels, which means behind closed doors. One of his last achievements was to bring Islamic financing in China. He is a wonderful accountant, auditor, participant, creative person. And his contribution now, he's working on the popularization of education of Islamic finance in an institute called INSIF. And INSIF stands for the Institute for International Center for Education in Islamic Finance in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. You will see on the left a unique, one of the best central banks ever in the world. Her name is Dr. Ziti Aziz. And Dr. Ziti Aziz is a wonderful central banker, and one day, inshallah, we'll give her what is due to her. And in the middle is a picture of the graduation at INSIF, and a picture of David in his wonderful gowns. Did you expect to see that, David? You did it, okay. I'll ask Mike Abdelati to come in, and we'll start working on the awards.
May we ask the awardees to please join us up here? I would like to start by telling you a little more about our awardees. Our first awardee is Professor Emeritus Rodney Wilson. He is a pioneer in the education and application of riba-free Islamic banking and finance. Born in Belfast, 1946, I don't know if he minds me saying that. He completed his PhD studies at Queen's University in Belfast in 1972. He began his career as an educator in 1969 at Queen's University in Belfast. He later joined Durham University in 1972 and founded the Islamic Finance Program at Durham University, as we heard. He continues to serve as a member of the Durham Center for Islamic Economics and Finance. Professor Wilson has worked as an educator to many international universities and firms in the Middle East and Far East, including International University of Japan, Kuwait University, University of Paris X, and Qatar Faculty of Islamic Studies. He currently works as a visiting professor at INSIF, and we've been introduced to it, and he's been there since 2013. Professor Wilson has served as a consultant on corporate governance for stock exchanges in the Middle East region and on Sharia governance at the Islamic Financial Services Board, as well as a consultant for the Qatar Central Bank and African Development Bank. His research interests include Islamic economics and finance, of course, and Middle Eastern political economy and the political economy of oil and gas. He has authored and co-authored several books and articles in Islamic economics, Islamic development, and ethics and religion. He has received a number of accolades and recognitions for his contributions in the field, most notable of which, earlier this year, he received the Islamic Development Bank's King Faisal Award for 2014. Please join me. Professor?
This is a gift about cooperation and working together makes you reach the top. Right. So we appreciate you being a wonderful example and educator for all what you have done.
Well,
God bless you.
Indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I feel very honoured to receive the 2014 LARIBA Award in Riba Free Islamic Banking. And I'd especially like to thank Dr. Yahya Abdul Rahman for making this visit to Texas possible. So thank you. My own contribution has been as an academic researcher and teacher for over 40 years, as you've just heard. I would like to acknowledge the support I received from my colleagues in Durham University, Dr. Mehmet Osatay and Professor Habib Ahmed. And Dr. Mehmet Osatay has taken over the running of the centre following my retirement in Durham. And Professor Habib Ahmed is doing some splendid work in Islamic finance, and particularly with regard to Islamic microfinance. Since retiring from Durham, I've widened my experience by working in the Faculty of Islamic Studies in Doha and at NCF in Kuala Lumpur, where I currently teach the Islamic banking course for the master's students and for the doctoral students. These institutions provided a very warm and welcoming environment. I feel very much a member of the global Islamic banking family. It's a small world, Islamic banking, and it's a nice feeling of belonging, really, in this small world. One of my main tasks over the years has been to explain and demonstrate the merits of Islamic banking to non-Muslims and sometimes skeptical Muslims. The conventional banking system was correctly seen as bearing much of the responsibility for the global financial crisis of 2008 through unethical trading activity and mis-selling of dubious financial products. The riba-based banks were deeply scarred by the crisis, yet unfortunately not all the lessons have been learned and malpractices continue. Huge bonuses continue to be paid to investment bankers on the basis of criteria which are often unrelated to the financial performance of the institutions where they are employed, and certainly not their contribution to the real economy. Now, Islamic banks have occupied the moral high ground as they were not involved in the trading of riba-based instruments that caused many of the problems. Islamic banks have mostly thrived and prospered despite the crisis because the inherent Islamic financial principle of risk sharing makes them careful in managing risk. Clients are attracted to Islamic banks because they share risk. It is by taking on risk, such as ownership risk in the case of Murabaha and Ijara, that returns to Islamic banks are legitimized. The bank and not the client is the information for managing operational risk, which cannot be feasibly shared. Default risk must remain in part responsibility of the client, but the banks have a duty to ensure the financing provided is affordable by the client. Banks, in other words, have to be selective and not just grant credit to those who are clearly not going to be able to meet their obligations. Profit and loss sharing, a key principle of Islamic banking, is embedded in the LARIBA contract offered to investment depositors and some of the diminishing musharaka contracts used for mortgages. In Malaysia, musharaka is now also used for private equity finance and venture capital, a very positive, encouraging development given the role in employment creation of small and medium-sized enterprises which can benefit from such funding. Islamic banking is continuing to develop and evolve, but much has been achieved since it took off almost 40 years ago. Sharia-compliant assets exceed $1.54 trillion worldwide, and Islamic banks have got 38 million customers worldwide, according to Ernst & Young. Islamic banks account for over 40% of total deposits in the GCC and 1/4 of the total in Malaysia. The range of services offered is comparable to conventional banks, Islamic retail banking been especially successful, but asset management and investment banking is also well established, not least in London. In summary, although there remain many challenges for academic researchers, Sharia scholars, and Islamic banking professionals, there is much to celebrate in the achievements to date. It has been a privilege to be involved in teaching the next generation that will have responsibility for guiding the Islamic banking industry. And I'm certainly thankful for the strength that the Almighty has given me to continue to perform this task. This award will spur me onwards. There are many unresolved issues in Islamic finance for academic researchers to tackle. For example, 6 years on from the global financial crisis of 2008, regulatory regimes have been tightened with the Basel III standards. Most Islamic banks already comply with these new standards, but the question arises, are they inhibiting expansion given the capitalization and liquidity constraints? And there's clearly scope for work on this. Other under-researched areas include the growth strategy choices for Islamic banks, riba-free product development, and the role of marketing in a relationship banking context, because a lot of Islamic banking is about relationships. Much has been written about the theory of Islamic banking, but there remains tremendous scope to examine the evolving practices. Despite the gaps, there is much to be proud of in terms of successful research. The quality of academic scholarship has improved remarkably in recent years, which is starting to be manifest in the increased sophistication of articles published in leading Islamic economics and finance journals. This demonstrates what is possible for a widening of the research agenda. So, in short, there's a lot of opportunities for academic research in Islamic finance, and it's a great honor to be involved in the teaching of the subject, both originally in Durham University and in Qatar, and now at NCF. So thank you very much indeed. I feel very honored to have this award. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. May God bless you and your family for all your hard work. And now for a bit about Mr. David Vikri Abdullah. He has much in his CV. Mr. Dawood Vikri Abdullah has been in the finance and consulting industry for almost 41 years, with significant experience in Asia, Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East. Since 2002, he has focused exclusively on Islamic finance. He currently serves as the President and Chief Executive Officer of NCF, the Global University of Islamic Finance, at the International Center of Education in Islamic Finance, based in Kuala Lumpur. He is with NCF, by the way, for those that are not familiar with it, is regarded as the Harvard University equivalent of Islamic finance field. And it claims the top experts in Islamic finance throughout the world as its alumni. Mr. Vikri Abdullah's professional experience spans banking, consulting, and education, and includes the top companies in who's who in the fields such as Lloyds Bank, Chemical Bank, Unisys, Deloitte Consulting. He has also founded his own consulting firm, DVA Consulting, in Malaysia, where he's now residing with his wife. He is a chartered Islamic finance professional, a wonderful designation. He's a distinguished fellow of the Islamic Banking and Finance Institute of Malaysia and a former board member of the Accounting and Auditing Organization of Islamic Institutions, AOFI. He sits on the board of governors of both the International Academy of Financial Management and the Institute of Enterprise Risk Practitioners. Mr. Vikri Abdullah has authored several books and studies on Islamic finance, liquidity management, and moral economics. He is a frequent speaker and a tireless advocate on matters relating to Islamic finance throughout the world, and I couldn't think of a better ambassador for that.
And he is Haji David Vikri Abdullah. Just came back from Hajj this year, he and his wife. So we congratulate him, and now we have a new title for him, Haji David.
Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to you all. It's a great honor to be here. The Honorable Congresswoman Johnson and my dear colleagues and friends at LARIBA Bank of Whittier and my brothers and sisters in the room. I hardly believed that 50 years ago, on my first visit and my only visit prior to this one to Dallas, that I'd be standing on a stage receiving an award for my contribution to Islamic finance. 50 years ago, I was 13 years old. I was the son of a naval officer in Her Majesty's Royal Navy. I was a Christian. I went to a Christian school, which was founded in the year 1085 at Norwich Cathedral in the United Kingdom. And I had aspirations, I think, to be a sports player, or perhaps to follow in my father's footsteps, or perhaps there were some ideas that I might go into banking. A year or two later, I had decided that banking was my future direction, and I became a qualified conventional banker. And that qualification was really based on what I would call the old school of banking, which is very much where the community was served by a local banker, and that banker understood and knew every single customer and was engaged in the life of the community. And I rather liked what that meant, because one of my neighbors, or neighbors of my parents, was a local bank manager, and he gave me the opportunity when I was 16 to work summers in his bank as a teller. I was obviously a very trustworthy individual and didn't walk away with the money. But what I saw was that this was an integral part of the community. If I fast forward 20 years or so, working in the City of London, working in international banking and plying my trade, I became deeply concerned about the role that banks were playing even then in the late 1980s, and somehow with deregulation, the aspirations of bankers such as myself were being destroyed by the regulators and indeed by governments who decided that actually greed was something that should be promoted. And as a result of that, I quit my job and set up my own business to consult on re-engineering banks. And it was fortuitous, because within a couple of years, I went to work in Malaysia on a job to re-engineer a Malaysian bank. And this had momentous consequences for me, because two amazing things happened. One was that Malaysia had already paved the way in developing Islamic banks, or riba-free banks, and that after 10 years of reasonable success, the government and Central Bank of Malaysia had decided that all conventional banks should at least open an Islamic window. And as the senior banking consultant on a project, I was summoned to the presence of the board on one day, and I was asked to explain to them how they could set up an Islamic window. And my response to that was, an Islamic what? I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. But I was able to spend some time with one of the founding fathers of Islamic finance in Malaysia, who is an extremely humble man and would be deeply embarrassed that I even mention his name here, but Dr. Yahya knows him very well. His name is Mustafa Hamad, the founding father of Islamic finance in Malaysia. And he shared with me his enthusiasm and his spirit with regards to what riba free finance was about. And he didn't have to do it. I was a strange white guy in a country where the Malays call white people like me matsalis, foreign devils. This strange matsali asked all sorts of questions about Islam and how you could run a bank without charging interest. And I got to learn from him. Another amazing thing happened as well, as the lady who is now my wife was working on the project at the bank, and within about 12 months I converted to Islam. And that completely changed my life at that stage, and from 21 years ago I've been working steadily in this area of riba-free finance. As you heard from the CV, that I dedicated myself full-time to it in 2002. Prior to that, there weren't too many opportunities. But anyway, it's been a momentous journey, and it's been a journey which I've been extremely fortunate to participate in. I'm also deeply indebted to many, many brothers and sisters who are too numerous to mention. But one thing I found about joining this community is that it is a community, and that people willingly help you. I recall, and he may not remember this, but there's a gentleman hiding just down there, Dr. Yahya, and I was presenting at a conference in Singapore, which was a general banking conference, and we had a slot on Islamic finance. I think this was about 2004 or 2005. And he was chairing a panel, and we were in front of a number of Sharia scholars, I seem to recall. And he said, "You look a little bit nervous." And I said, "Of course I'm nervous. These are Sharia scholars, and I'm not. And I'm going to be talking about riba-free finance." And he said, "Don't worry. I'll introduce you." And I said, "Well, how are you going to do this?" He said, "Don't worry. Don't worry." So he stood up and he said, "Gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to David Vickery." He always calls me David because that's the name my mother gave to me. I'd like to introduce David Vickery. He's the CEO of an Islamic bank. He's got a lot of experience in this area. And please bear in mind, dear brothers, that he's the only man in this room, unlike yourselves, and he was referring to everybody in the room who was born a Muslim. He said, "Unlike yourselves, this man had a choice. It's a choice I've never regretted making. Absolutely never, ever." So I've had a very fortunate life in terms of the friends and colleagues who've assisted me along the way. And I will try and close as briefly as I can because your dinner is waiting. But it has been a momentous journey, and from running and setting up Islamic financial institutions, I'm now privileged to work for the governor of the Central Bank of Malaysia, Dr. Zeti Akhtar Aziz, who has been nominated and awarded by her peers as the most effective central bank governor in the world for the last 3 years running, and is a stalwart of supporting riba-free finance. I'm privileged to run an institution which is dedicated to the education of postgraduate students in Islamic finance. We are not yet 9 years old, yet. We've already graduated 830 master's and PhD students. We have over 2,000 students on our books, many of whom are online from 85 countries, so we have become very global. The university, together with our Sharia Research Academy, accounts for 11% of global research in Islamic finance. And we also advise Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom on Islamic finance education. And as of last week, we advise the government of the Republic of Turkey on Islamic finance. And we are preparing them for the G20 meeting next year, where there will be a strong push towards further recognition globally for riba-free finance. As I said, 50 years ago, I could not have imagined being in this position and actually saying that this is what we're doing. Looking to the future, I am optimistic. I'm always optimistic. But that optimism is based not on what I can do, but it's based on what you can do and on what education can do. Education is the only thing that will change perceptions. Perceptions are very often based on ignorance or lack of knowledge. And if you are educated, then you have the responsibility to stand up and say how it is. And when things you hear are wrong, then you have a duty to explain why they're wrong and try and put them straight. So education, as the late and wonderful man Nelson Mandela said, is the most powerful weapon that we have at our disposal. And I'm privileged to be part of that industry today. There is undoubtedly much to do, and I always like to close any speech I make with my favorite catchphrase, which is there is much to do and not a moment to lose. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I would now like to introduce the LARIBA and Bank of Whittier team to take a picture with our awardees. These are the hardworking people that have worked on this. First, Mr. Mohsen Mandavia. Brother Mohsen Mandavia is the branch manager of our Richardson office, a well-known figure of the community and the Richardson Islamic Finance Center. MashaAllah, very nice to meet you. Please stand around. Ms. Alexandra Deng. Ms. Deng is a wonderful addition to the bank. She joined us out of college, and mashallah, now she's the head of the credit department. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Mr. Muhammad Al-Baidi is the Deputy General Manager for Bank of Whittier, based in California. Zahir Islam, Assalamu alaikum. Also from our Richardson office, joining us, he's in the credit department and a banker of many years, including Bank of America. Ms. Ghada Campbell from Sudan, and she's working at our California office. She's a mortgage finance officer. Please. Ms. Wajiha Shakil, a graduate of USC, those that love sports and have watched the ball game. She works in our California office, and she's an underwriter and a mortgage finance officer as well. Brother Nusrat Khan. Brother Nusrat is based in our Richardson office and one of our capable bankers in the operations of the branch. Ms. Aisha Nawaz, a member of our California operations. She's a finance officer. And many of you that have done mortgage financing, you've probably talked to Aisha or you've talked to Wajiha while you're working on your mortgages. Sumaya Narjis, I'm very sorry. Sumaya is finishing her finance degree in UTD, and she's with our Dallas branch. Ms. Nancy Liu is a member of our Richardson branch. Works in teller operations. How are you, Raisa? Raisa is one of our tellers. Mr. Ali Al-Saheti, the man on the video. And our latest addition, Ms. Nahid Parveen, welcome, in our Richardson office. Ms. Noor Amhan, I'm very sorry, Noor, how are you? Brother Mohannad El-Alwan, he's our newest member of the family in Houston.
Mohannad, who I am very short compared to him, is going to start our operation in Houston, inshallah. And we serve all 50 states in all banking aspects, not only homes. We do cars, used and new cars. We do home financing and refinancing. We do commercial buildings, doctors' clinics, retail stores. You just name it, and we are at your service. And opening an account does not cost you anything. It's fee-free. We do not charge fees for accounts. This is not an advertisement, but it's a fact, so please bear up with me. No, I love you very much, and please remember us in your dua. Please remember us in your dua, because this is how we go. We ask Allah to accept, inshallah, and reward you and your families. Thank you very much. Please give him a hand. Thank you. We have some significant guests tonight who would like to honor Dr. Wilson and Mr. Vickery. So please, you leave. Mike is going to introduce them.
We are honored that we have some of our community servants and community leaders joining us tonight. We've heard from the Honorable U.S. Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. She's accompanied tonight by Ms. Terry Hodge, former state representative. She's had many terms. And she currently campaigns for Ms. Johnson. We also have District Judge Phyllis Lister Brown. Is she with us? She's a Dallas County District Judge and a wonderful ally to the community. And we have newly elect Ms. Jennifer Bennett, Judge, with her husband, Mr. Jeff Golsinski, who is a banker as well. We have Mr. Omar Narvez, representing the president of the Dallas County School System. And I believe he has a commendation. Would you like to present it at this time? Please, please.
So we have a proclamation. Mr. Larry Duncan, our board president, unfortunately fell ill today and sends his regrets of not being able to be here to do the presentation himself. And my name is Omar Narvez, and I am one of the board trustees on the board, so I am filling in for him. It's my honor and pleasure to be here to do this. The proclamation is, whereas American Finance House LARIBA has recognized and awarded excellent and unique achievement of deserving individuals and institutions in the RF riba-free Islamic banking and finance field since 1968, and whereas American Finance House LARIBA and the Bank of Whittier are presenting the 2014 LARIBA Awards for Excellence and Outstanding Contributions to RF Banking at their RF Banking and Finance Dinner Gala Saturday, November 15th, 2014. And whereas Mr. Rodney James Alexander Wilson is being honored with the 2014 LARIBA Awards for Excellence and Outstanding Contributions to RF Banking, and whereas Mr. Rodney Wilson has taught Islamic RF banking for over 40 years, culminating in his current positions as Emeritus Professor, Durham University, Durham, UK, and Visiting Professor, International Center of Education in Islamic Finance, Kuala Lumpur, and whereas Mr. Rodney Wilson is helping to spread an understanding of RB, riba-free Islamic banking throughout the world by lecturing and thesis supervision, as well as being prolific author of research papers and books on the subject. Now therefore, I, Larry Duncan, President of the Dallas County Schools Board of Trustees, do hereby extend and proclaim special recognition to Mr. Rodney Wilson on the occasion of his being honored with the prestigious 2014 LARIBA Awards for Excellence and Outstanding Contributions to RF Banking, celebrate his vision, and commend the light of his example to shine upon all the citizens of Dallas County. And the last one reads basically the same, and I know we're wanting to eat, so I'll just do the very end, the now therefore. So now therefore, I, Larry Duncan, President of the Dallas County School Board of Trustees, do hereby extend and proclaim special recognition to Mr. Abdullah on the occasion of his being honored with the prestigious 2014 LARIBA Awards for Excellence and Outstanding Contributions to RF Banking, celebrate his vision, and commend the light of his example to shine upon all the citizens of Dallas County.
Mr. Jesse Flores, Executive Chief Deputy of the Office of Dallas County. Thank you so much for coming. As well as Dr. Lindsay Browning, Office of Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez.
On behalf of the sheriff, who couldn't be here, so she sent me and one of my chiefs to present this award to these two gentlemen. My name is Jesse Flores. I'm the Executive Chief Deputy of the Dallas Sheriff's Department, and I'm honored to be here. Well, let me make this short and sweet. Mr. Rodney Wilson. For over 40 years, you dedicated yourself to research and teaching of economics and finance of Islamic or of banking, and brought great honor and pride to this industry. It is with great pleasure that you are hereby awarded the Certificate of Commendation from the Dallas County Sheriff's Department on the 15th of November 2014, signed Lupe Valdez, Sheriff of Dallas Police Department. Thank you. I want to present this to you as well from the Sheriff of the Dallas County Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
A couple more. We also have Ms. Felicia Petrie, newly elected District Clerk of County of Dallas. And Ms. Nina Montique, Secretary to Ms. Felicia Petrie. Last but not least, we have special thanks from the Mayor of Plano, the City of Plano, who unfortunately could not be present tonight. Thank you so much all for your support. And now this special program, Mr. Dr. Yahya Abdurrahman will make a special introduction.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It gives me great pleasure and honor to present to you the highest representative of the Muslim community in North America. And it's not because of his age, not because of his power, not because of his money, but because of his service to the community over the past many years. I have known Azhar Aziz for at least 20 years as an active servant of the community. And it gives me great pleasure to congratulate him on becoming the president of the largest Muslim organization in the United States, and inshallah Canada too. We started this back in 1960s, mid-60s, as the Muslim Students Association of the United States and Canada. And we had wonderful dreams, and these dreams have come true. And this is a message for the young men and women. The reason for this conference is not only to recognize the wonderful work of people like Professor Wilson and David, but it is because we want to motivate you as young men and women to choose something else other than being in the medical school or in the TV stations or in the law school. We want you to be bankers. Our dream is to produce wonderful banker men and women who would be the prime choice of Americans. So when an American asks for a good, honorable banker who would take care of me and my family, they will say, go to the person from the Muslim community. We are doing our little share with good intentions, and Azhar Aziz has done more than many of us. So we want to thank him, and I want to invite him to welcome you all. Brother Azhar Aziz, thank you very much.
الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين إمام المتقين خالد الغر المحجلين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين. My dear brothers and sisters and my dear friends, I greet you all with the Islamic greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May Allah's peace, blessings and mercy be upon you all. I want to thank my big brother, Dr. Yahya Abdurrahman, for his kind words, for his kind introduction. I'm very honored to address this very auspicious gathering in front of this esteemed and distinguished guests. I'm also very cognizant of this fact that I'm standing between you and the dinner. So inshallah, I'll try to keep my comments very brief. Mr. Dawood, you can clap. It's absolutely halal to clap. I have a problem when people hold themselves back. We live in a free society, so express yourself in the best possible way. Please go ahead and clap. It's absolutely halal to clap. So I want to say this. I don't know, Mr. Dawood, how it works in United Kingdom, but in Texas, people really get angry when they are hungry. So I know I'm standing at a very dangerous spot. But I want to congratulate LARIBA, its staff, its management, especially Dr. Yahya Abdurrahman, who is the founder, who is the mentor, who is the visionary, who established this organization several years back. 1982, Bank of Whittier, 1987, LARIBA. And I want to say this, that American Muslim history is incomplete without recognizing the contributions of LARIBA and Bank of Whittier. When nobody thought of Islamic finance, it was a visionary by the name of Dr. Yahya Abdurrahman who envisioned and who thought about this institution, and we know the fruits of this institution after so many years. Also wanted to congratulate my dear friend and brother Mike Abdullati, the president of LARIBA. Also want to thank my dear friend Mohsin Mandavia for thinking about me and inviting me to this beautiful function. I want to applaud the efforts of LARIBA, an institution and financial institution that maintains very high standards and business ethics. And I was reading at their website, they have this beautiful rules, 10 important rules I was so impressed with. And this tells us that we have financial institutions among us who maintain such high standards and ethics. The basket of services that this beautiful institution, LARIBA, offers is home financing, auto financing, business financing, trade financing, equipment financing, riba-free banking, home construction, currency converter. So amazing basket of services that this important institution is offering. I believe tonight is a night of celebration. Tonight is a night to look back and see these glorious 27 years of LARIBA. Tonight is a night to thank wonderful brothers and sisters like yourself who have been supporting this institution. Tonight is a night to recognize these wonderful Muslim achievers. I was going through the list. I recognize few names. Dr. Jamal Badawi, of course, our teacher and our scholar. I know Dr. Yahya mentioned about Parvez Naseem, who is currently the Vice President of Islamic Society of North America in Canada. Also Anwar Ibrahim, the former Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia. Not many of you might know this, that he was an integral part of MSA when he was a student over here. And we, on a lighter note, when we meet Anwar Ibrahim, we always call him Anwar Ibrahim Isnavi. So because he has spent a lot of time serving the MSA and its chapters. By recognizing these important achievers, we are following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ reminded us, where he said, Man lam yashkurin nas la yashkurullah. A person who is not thankful to his fellow being cannot be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either. So I'm reminded of this very important prophetic saying, which is known as Hadith Qudsi, mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, our beloved Prophet. He said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a person, he calls Angel Gabriel, Jibreel alayhi salam, and says to him, I love so-and-so, therefore you should also love him. So Angel Gabriel makes this announcement in the heaven, saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty loves so-and-so, therefore you should also love him. Then all the inhabitants of the heaven love that person, and thus the acceptance is established for that person on earth, and that person becomes popular and loved by people. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes someone, again the same process happens, thus the dislike is established for that person on earth. So we make this prayer, we make this dua that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always keep us in this first category of individuals, these wonderful achievers. I'm very optimistic, very sure that they are in that particular category. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again in Surah Al-Imran reminds us where He says, وَتُعِزُّ مَن تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَن تَشَاءُ بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرُ إِنَّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. In this verse, in Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 26, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again reminds us where He says, it is He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever He wills, He will bestow the honor on them, and whoever He wills, He will abases them. In His hand is good, and He's able to do everything. So I take a great pride in being part of this wonderful event where we are recognizing these wonderful, wonderful individuals. When I was reading their bios and when I was looking at their more than 40 years of service, and then when I look at myself in the mirror, it makes me feel so inferior and so insignificant when I compare myself to these wonderful group of individuals. One of the great leaders of our country, Abraham Lincoln, once said, and in the end, it is not the years in your life that counts, it is the life in your years. So my dear brothers and sisters, this is a great honor that we have institutions who are serving the Muslim community in a very important area. The need is humongous, and I want to applaud the work of this beautiful institution called as LARIBA. Since I have been invited here as the president of ISNA, I would just like to share with you that it took us 51 years. This institution was established in 1963 in Urbana-Champaign in Illinois. This is Muslim history in North America, and we should all know this. And Dr. Yahya Abdurrahman alluded to it. And I want to say that after 51 years today, by the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have individuals such as President Obama, President Jimmy Carter, President Bill Clinton, who have addressed this institution, who have recognized the important work of these institutions, of these organizations. And we should take great pride in this fact that we have organizations of this caliber that has been representing the Muslim community in North America. I would like to conclude with a couple of very quick comments. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again reminding us in the Holy Quran where He says, وَحْسِنُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Do good, truly Allah loves the good doers. And I very strongly believe that the work of LARIBA is to spread the greater good in the community at large. My dear brothers and sisters, once a wise man said, watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. And watch your character, it becomes your destiny. So once again, I would like to congratulate this beautiful institution. I once again remind my dear brothers and sisters and my co-Dallasites that it is important for us as a community to support the wonderful work of LARIBA. LARIBA needs our help and support. It is an obligation on us to strengthen the hands of this institution so that they can continue to celebrate year after year their services to the Muslim community at large. Once again, Jazakallah khair for this opportunity. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
I apologize. One of the distinguished councilmen, Councilman Shahid Shafi from the city of Salt Lake, Texas, is here tonight. We thank him. He's here honoring our guests. And we encourage our community members to participate in their local communities and become decision makers and difference makers. Also, as we get ready for dinner, I want to introduce Imam Zia Sheikh. He will deliver the keynote address after dinner. So we're not going to hold you for his keynote address. And he will honor our awardees as well. Thank you very much. Please enjoy your dinner, and we'll continue afterwards.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to thank Mike and thank Mohsen and thank Jangdan and many of the participants. If I may have your attention for 2 minutes. While food is being served right now, I'd like to recognize some very important Sharia scholars that we have. And I'd like to start with the wonderful justice, former justice, and Sharia scholar, Dr. Muhammad Adam al-Sheikh. Please stand up. Sheikh Muhammad Adam al-Sheikh. He's been the Sharia scholar of LARIBA since 2000, and he had his master's degree at Howard University, PhD degree at Temple University, and he has been sitting at the Fiqh Council of ISNA for 25 years. Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui, with Dr. Taha Jabir Al-Alwani, Jamal Badawi. We're honored to have him with us. And also I'd like to recognize a very important scholar who actually runs a Sharia audit company, the most popular in the world, and he has offices. Brother Dr. Abdul Bari Mashal, please stand up. Dr. Abdul Bari Mashal is a very well-recognized world Sharia scholar, and he actually worked with a number of companies. He's got his own Sharia audit and scholarship firm, and with offices in Kuwait, in London, in Syria and Lebanon, and in Malaysia. And we're honored to have you with us so we can learn from your wisdom and knowledge. And I also have Brother Zulkifli. Where is Zulkifli? Zulkifli is a Sharia scholar from Malaysia, and we're honored to have him with us. And we're honored to have all of you enjoy your dinner and the next 20 minutes, and then we'll ask our dear brother, Imam Zia. Imam Zia will be speaking about the riba-free lifestyle. What is it? And then watch the screen while you're eating. There will be some rotating slides to introduce you to the subject. Imam Zia comes to us from the United Kingdom. It looks like this is the night of the United Kingdom. I was advised to call it the United Kingdom, not Great Britain, not England, for obvious political reasons. Right, David? Okay. And he comes to us from the United Kingdom, where he was educated. He got his Islamic education and became a Hafiz of the Holy Quran, to one of the most vibrant Islamic centers in the area, the Islamic Center of Irving, which has undergone doubling its size, and soon, inshallah, the size will be tripled. And it's a wonderful community. One thing about this community in Irving is that it has developed a housing program which is very close, essentially across the fence for the community in Irving, which is called the Andalus, Villa Andalus, right? We have here one of the promoters and supporters of that effort, and his name is, stand up. Your name is? Mahmoud Igal. He calls it Igal, but huwa Iqal, which means the thing which supports the kufiya on the head. So Mahmoud Igal, since I met him, first time he came from Somalia, he's been involved in this project. There's another project coming up in the neighborhood, and we're honored to have financed the Andalus, Villa Andalus. About 70% of the homes in Villa Andalus have been financed by LARIBA, American Finance House, riba free. I'd like to introduce you my dear brother, activist, wonderful Imam Zia.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, respected elders and scholars, Jazakumullahu khairan for inviting me tonight. Tonight's event is an extremely important event in which we recognize the achievements of trendsetters and revolutionaries. As we saw earlier, we had the awards given out for people that had dedicated themselves to researching the issue of a riba-free lifestyle. So at least from the Western point of view, in the field of interest-free banking and financing, these were and are and continue to be trendsetters and revolutionaries. I'm using the words trendsetters and revolutionaries primarily because just a couple of decades ago, it was unthinkable that Muslims would settle in Europe and North America as they have done, building institutions such as Islamic centers, Islamic schools, community centers, social services, and civic services as they have. Most of our elders came here with the mindset that they will come to America, Britain, or Europe, earn some money, have some savings, and then move, quote unquote, back home. The problem was that because of events in their native countries, or simply because of their own choice, or their children's insistence, these strange countries became their adopted home. And I'm sure that many of you agree that all of you, or most of you, have adopted the United States, or in the case of our guests, the United Kingdom is their home country. Because of the mindset of these original people that came, the old people that came, there was little to no inclination to build financial institutions that could cater to the need of the emergent communities that were beginning to flourish in these countries. Once the realization set in that Muslims are here to stay, these trendsetters and revolutionaries began to consider the imperative nature of building such institutions that could cater to the needs of this rapidly developing minority and dynamic. Why was that need so strong? Why was Islamic financing, why was that need so strong? Because of the strong nature of condemnation, as we've been hearing all through the evening, the condemnation that is found in the divine teachings of the Bible, the Torah, and our own book, the Quran. Scrupulous people, meaning people that have scruples and they have ethics, they began to understand and have an awareness of the gravity of those commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of His God-sent books. They set out to innovate banking and financing solutions in such a way that they were in accordance with Shari'i and religious guidelines. The challenge that they faced was that they would have to stay within religious guidelines while not circumventing the often complicated local laws that would pose the greatest challenge to achieving such a goal. What were those challenges? There were many challenges from many different aspects. Particular to the United States are federal laws that are a challenge in and of themselves. Once you overcome the federal regulations, now you have to look at state laws. So you have a double effort to make, federal and then state laws, and then work around them, treading the muddy waters carefully so that no laws are broken, while at the same time the practicing Muslims try to uphold and maintain the dictates of Islamic law. In more recent times, the newest challenge has emerged from the religious right. We have right-wingers, Islamophobes, people that have an agenda against Islam. And what do they say? These particular Islamophobes in the right-wing media, they have portrayed Islamic religious and financial institutions as the proverbial Trojan horse that will stealthily and silently change the American system into a fully blown system of Sharia. This is their claim. Okay? Stealth jihad, stealth Sharia, creeping Sharia. You've heard these words before used in the right-wing media. Anything that has the slightest hint of being Islamic is touted as a threat to so-called American freedoms. Thankfully, education and pushback, as well as authors writing books, have made sensible people realize the folly of this kind of mindset, and this kind of pervasive thinking hasn't caught on as much as the Islamophobes would like. Then the next challenge that these institutions face is from amongst the Muslims themselves. We sometimes become our own worst enemies, scrutinizing, criticizing, and generally treating Islamic financing companies in a negative fashion, without having the faintest idea about the rules and regulations of interest-based transactions when it comes to the Sharia rulings behind them. One of the most frequent arguments presented against Islamic financing companies is that they are charging the same rate or making the same profit as conventional banks, so what's the difference? We should respond to them by saying that it's not the amount of profit that is made that makes the deal halal or haram, as every business has the right, and even they have the objective to make a profit. And without that objective, it's not a business anymore. It's the transaction itself that makes the profit haram or halal. The transaction itself is something that makes it halal or haram. And I often give the example that if you were to sell something haram, alcohol, for example, and make a profit of $100, and then on the other side you sell something halal and you make a profit of $100, and you look on each side, $100 on this side, $100 on the other side, you think, well, it amounts to the same thing. No, it doesn't amount to the same thing. How you got that $100 basically dictates what makes it halal or haram. Okay? The same way these Islamic financing companies operate, the transaction and how it's done, it makes the transaction halal or haram and makes the profit haram or halal. And this is something that we all need to understand and relate to the people that are the naysayers. Finally, although with the best of intentions, there are also some obstacles placed by our respected scholars in the path of financing companies. And most of the arguments presented against Islamic financing institutions are based upon lack of knowledge of the legal requirements of the country or lack of understanding of the way the transaction is formulated. And in their zealousness to make people avoid haram, which is undoubtedly an honorable intention, fatwas are sometimes given haphazardly while not taking into consideration how the transactions of the company work. Sometimes the fatwas are issued without giving the institution an opportunity to either correct themselves or improve themselves to align themselves to where they are within Shari'i guidelines. The final summary of my talk is basically that we should try our utmost to try to help such organizations as LARIBA and all other institutions that are trying their utmost to provide a need to the Muslim community, without which either the Muslims would be either engaging in haram by attaining conventional loans and banking, or throwing away their money in paying exorbitant rates of rent with nothing to show for it after many years of literally wasting their money. The scholars of the communities should try to help these institutions by being ru'at, or shepherds, guiding them where they see them going wrong. The Muslim public should help these institutions by giving them the benefit of the doubt, especially in matters that only scholars are qualified to pass judgment in. Subsequently, they should try as much as possible to give them their business so that they can continue to improve and provide valuable services to the Islamic community. When we do this, there'll come a time when even Western financial institutions will see the value of making all their investments and financial instruments using honest, ethical Islamic guidelines, contrary to what we have been seeing in the past few years, especially from the big banks and investment firms, many of which have gone bankrupt and have closed doors for the past few years. When that happens, when the institutions realize the value of Islamic investment and Islamic financing, that is when the default mode of financing, inshallah, even for the general public, will be Islamic financing. Until that day comes, we should work towards and support the honorable goals of these Islamic financial institutions so that the future is conducive to such wonderful aspirations. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables us to make this society that we're in riba free, and I pray that Allah gives our Islamic financial institutions success in their endeavors, and I pray that the Muslim communities benefit from such institutions in a halal way. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. And finally, I would like to thank Dr. Yahya and LARIBA for inviting me to speak tonight. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Imam Zia. And he had to drive all the way from Irving. I don't know, do you use the George Bush Freeway or 635? Don't use 635. The third book came out a few days back, and it is called The Art of RF, Islamic Banking and Finance. And I want to do a quiz. I only was able to get 2 boxes of the book. One I have to keep it for my friends, but one will be given out answering some quizzes. Did you all watch what is rotating on the screen? How many of you watched it? Okay, I'm going to ask the first quiz. What is riba free? What is RF? No, it's not industry. That's not right. What's RF? Riba-free. Very good. Fantastic. What is a riba-free lifestyle look like? What is a riba-free like? Muhsin is a riba-free lifestyle. Where is Muhsin? Yes? What? Living within your means. Yes? Cutting your credit cards. That's a picture. What else? Simple life. And what else? The man has nothing in his pocket, right? And what about the automobiles? Automobile for two. What was the brand of the automobile? Porsche. So you'll all go and buy Porsche, or will you buy a smart car? I drive a smart car. I do drive a smart car. What about a car for 4 passengers? What do you drive? A BMW 300 or 500? What was suggested? A Toyota, a Honda, or the like. All right? So now I have 11 books like this. So whoever is going to answer this question, inshallah, but please let's get organized because we want to do it fairly. What is the Hijri year this year? I'm going to ask it. I'm going to ask yes or no. 1433. No. Just tell me. 1433. Is it correct? All right. Somebody answer the question. Raise your hand. 1434. Not true. All right. Okay. Well, we'll ask. Yes, brother. 1436. Hijrah. All right. Fantastic. So please get his name, and I'm going to sign a book for you, inshallah. When did the year of the Gregorian year, this year, I know you know it's 2014. When did it start from? What year? Yes? The birth of Muharram? When they started the Gregorian year, where did they start it from? This young lady? No, the Hijrah is a Hijri year. I'm talking about the year we use, 2014. The birth of Jesus Christ. Okay? Fantastic. So take his name, please. I know him. He's husband of Nahid, of course. The third question is, the year of the Hijrah, when did it start from? When Prophet Muhammad went from where to where? From Mecca to Medina. Fantastic. Very good. Another question. Another trivia. When did the Prophet ﷺ was born? $570. Okay. Now, I just wanted to show people that the birth of Muhammad is not very important. It's the teachings of Muhammad ﷺ that is very important and we focus on. So, who raised his hand and he said 570? We'll take your name, and Wali will take your name. And you, Imam, will take your name. And who else? And you will take your name. Fantastic. I'd like to thank you very much. And I'd like to ask Imam Shapandam. Shapandam's in Dhaka. And he's going to tell us the meaning of his name. It means an eagle in his language. His wife is sitting next to him. Please stand up. Please give her a hand. And then his wonderful 4 daughters.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. Ya Allah, we ask you at the close of this most beautiful evening, Ya Allah, that you bless each and every one of us that attended, our families and loved ones. Ya Allah, we ask you that you bless us with happiness and goodness in this life, and that you bless us to be a tool of happiness and goodness in the lives of others. Ya Allah, we ask you that you guide us in our lives and in the decisions that lay before us, ahead of us, so that they can be the best of decisions, having the greatest positive impact on others. Ya Allah, we ask you with all of your beautiful names and you're known by the most beautiful names in all languages. Ya Allah, we ask you, Rabbil Alameen, that you bless us with the best of all that life has to offer and the best of paradise in the hereafter. And that you guard us and protect us all from the least of what there can be of harm in this life and from anything of being punished in the hereafter. Ya Allah, we ask you, Rabbil Alameen, that you bless all who have made this evening possible. Ya Allah, that you grant them success and well-being. Ya Allah, that you help our communities as a whole to grow, to prosper, to integrate, and to be part of this beautiful legacy of what we understand and know and experience of America. Ya Allah, we ask you in whichever direction it is that you take us in the future, that you help us to be beacons of guidance, beacons of goodness. Ya Allah, that you help us to be sources of mercy and compassion. Ya Allah, we ask you that you answer for us our prayers tonight and always and forever. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma ameen. Wa salli Allahumma wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad.
I just want to bring to your attention that tomorrow, after Fajr prayers, Fajr prayer, Iqama is at 6:15 in the morning at the Islamic Association of North Texas Central Richardson Masjid. We're going to have the Fajr prayers followed by breakfast, complimentary breakfast. And it's going to be a wonderful breakfast. And Sarah Bakery promised that the bread is going to come in hot and it doesn't cost anything. But we want you as parents to bring your children, grown-up children, to come in and listen about education in Islamic banking and finance in Malaysia. We're going to have David Vickery. I know we're leaning heavy on him, and Professor Wilson to come in and share with us. Please share with us. Please come. And wonderful programs in Malaysia. There are scholarships for distinguished students, and he will share with you the emphasis of the program. So please come in the morning around 6:10, 6:15. Iqama is exactly at 6:15. Imam Shipandam is very particular about that, right, Imam? Yes? So we'll see you, inshallah, tomorrow, and may God bless you. Those who want to join us for Isha, please do so. It's going to be outside. And those who would like to get a copy of the book on Islamic finance, we have from the previous issue many books. I'll be glad to sign it if you don't have it. And it's complimentary. You don't pay anything for it. And it's value on Amazon.com, which is a bestseller on Amazon.com by the grace of Allah. We did 2 printings of it. And we'll be glad. I will sign the latest edition, inshallah, for the ones who have won it. Please remember us in your dua. May God bless you all, bless your families. Give every unmarried woman a good husband to complete her life, and give every unmarried man a good wife to complete his life. And bless you and your children and grandchildren. And please, every time you remember us, please make a dua for us. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.